Today we're looking at the marathon, specifically how to run a 4-hour marathon.
Yeah, what your pacing strategy should be, how to train for that pace, and what pitfalls to avoid.
So join us as we discuss how to run a sub 4-hour marathon.
The global average time for a marathon is about 4 hours 21. For men, that's an average of 4 hours 13, and for women, 4 hours 42. But if you can break the 4-hour barrier, for men, that means you're in the top 43%, and for women, the top 21%. In fact, you could actually say that the 4-hour barrier is an unofficial threshold of being above that as an average marathon runner, and if you're quicker than it, well, you're above average.
But a sub 4-hour marathon is achievable for almost everyone with the right training and preparation. So if you're an average runner looking to achieve a above average sub 4-hour marathon, keep watching as we show you how.
We're going to start by breaking down the race itself and then planning your pacing strategy. And it's important to know what you're aiming for so you can tailor your training around that. But before we crack into the meaty bit, just a quick reminder that if you want to support the channel, you can do that by subscribing, hit the bell notification so you'll get notified every time we've got a new video. And if you're already enjoying this one, why not give it a like?
A sub 4-hour marathon requires an average pace of 5 minutes 41 per kilometer or 9 minutes 09 per mile for the entire distance of 42.2 kilometers or 26.1 miles. Now these days with a GPS watch, you can actually hold exactly that pace so that you make sure you hit your target for the whole marathon. But the reality is marathons don't always go to plan. In fact, they never go to plan. And normally the pacing strategy for people is to start faster, slow to a medium pace for the majority of the run, and then slow even more as they hang on and struggle to the finish line. The temptation with pacing is to save time in the bank and go a bit faster in the early miles when you feel fresher and the goal pace seems easy. But this is almost always a mistake. The best marathons are run with even splits or even negative splits where you finish faster than you start. So start a little slower where it feels comfortable and finish a little bit faster. For your goal pace, you want to build in a buffer of sorts, a time cushion in case things go a little wrong. And they will go a little wrong. There might be crowds at the start or a blister, an unexpected toilet stop, or even just fatigue towards the end of the marathon will affect that perfectly paced marathon. So you want to have a little bit of cushion. But this cushion is built into your overall goal pace. It's not something that you start faster and save it for later on. Your overall splits for the race should still be even throughout. So here are the hard numbers we'd suggest you aim for if you're aiming to break 4 hours. 5 minutes 30 per kilometer or 8 minutes 53 per mile throughout the whole run. This will give you a finish time of 3 hours 52 minutes if everything goes perfectly, which it probably won't. And an 8-minute cushion, if things don't go perfectly, you can still go under 4 hours.
How do you train to run a sub 4-hour marathon? Or you could word it, how do you train to be able to run at 5:30 per kilometre pace for 4 hours? Well, it depends a little bit on your starting point, but ideally you want to be running around 30 to 40k per week or 20 to 25 miles a week now, and then building that up to between 60 and 80 kilometres per week in total. Now the time frame that you need for this is going to depend a little bit on where you're at right now, because if completing 40k a week is too challenging for you, then you'll simply need to start at a lower distance and build up to that starting point. If, however, say you're already comfortably covering between 50 and 60 kilometres a week, then you'll be able to progress that bit quicker. But the ideal time frame is recommended as between 16 to 20 weeks. This will give you enough time for your body to adapt to this new load, get stronger, and have that nice fluctuation in your training as you build, and then factor in some rest periods. But it's not going to be too long that you'll start to get stale or bored with your training.
Your plan should build from your personal starting point up to your maximum mileage of about 50 to 80 kilometers a week, and builds in enough time for a decent taper before race day. The taper is a reduction in workload so that you arrive at race day fresh and ready to perform your best. Each week your training program should consist of about 5 runs, with one of those runs being a long run. Your long run will build gradually up to a maximum mileage of about 30 kilometers or 3 hours long. You'll notice immediately that that long run is still a long way off the full marathon distance. But don't worry, after a few consistent weeks of training and then your taper, you'll be absolutely fine adding another hour on race day. Don't be tempted to go out and test if you can run the full distance before race day. It'll simply take too much out of you and take too much time to recover from, and you'll arrive at race day worse off than if you hadn't done that session at all.
And then you want to add in some faster paced efforts. So you could do intervals, multiple times of running faster and slower within your session. You've got fartlek, which is a change in pace, again, multiple times, but for slightly longer periods within your run. You can look at doing hill repeats, so going up and down hills, especially important if you know you've got a hilly marathon. And finally, you could do tempo efforts. So anything from 15 up to 30 minutes of running faster than your planned race pace.
The remainder of your mileage should be made up with shorter runs at or near your goal marathon pace of 5 minutes 30 per kilometer. In the beginning, these can be a little bit slower than that goal marathon pace, but as you get closer to the race, this goal pace should start to feel comfortable for all of those shorter runs.
Yeah, and you'll also be a good idea if you can include one strength session per week. And this doesn't necessarily mean you've got to make a trip to the gym to lift big chunks of iron, but instead you just want to make sure that you're activating and challenging your major muscle groups. So your glutes, your quads, hamstrings and your calves. And this will help you with reducing the chance of injury as you build up this mileage, but also reducing the chance of that fatigue later on in the race. And if you can do any activation of the core, this will also contribute.
Now, a big question many people ask is, how do you know when you're ready to attempt that sub 4 hour marathon? I mean, you don't want to run 3 hours of the marathon only to find out in the last hour that you weren't ready. The reality is, you don't really know until you try. But there are some benchmarks you can use to guide whether you're ready, such as being able to run a 5K in under 24.5 minutes, a 10K in under 51 minutes, or even a half marathon in under 1 hour and 53 minutes. If you can do those, you can be pretty sure you're ready for a sub 4 hour marathon. Or you should be able to comfortably run a mile in under 7 minutes and run 2 miles in under 15 minutes.
Give yourself time to train, be consistent and put in the hours. You should allow yourself 16 to 20 weeks to train for your marathon.
Get comfortable running at the pace that is required to run a marathon in under 4 hours. Know your pace and train for it.
Follow a program, have a structured plan where you build your running base and gradually increase your weekly mileage.
Vary your pace, long runs, tempo runs, speed intervals and hill running.
Well, we hope this video has helped you on your journey to a sub 4 hour marathon. If it's just in a few weeks' time, well, please check back and let us know how it went on in the comments section below. If you're at the beginning of your marathon journey, well, good luck.
Yeah, good luck and happy running.